Good evening. This is the Raleigh Water Board meeting, Tuesday, November 4th, 2014. Time 6 o'clock. President Stu Dazell, Tim Toomey, Mary Beth Weiser, and myself, Roy Ricker. Just a reminder, if I could ask everyone to put their cell phones on vibrate. Thank you. First up on the agenda is approval of the minutes. Accept and approve the minutes of October 21st, 2014. I'd like to make a motion to approve and accept the minutes of October 21st, 2014 minutes. Can I get a second on that?
I'm still reading on the 5th page. It says, "Was purchased under the previous administration and signed off by this board." Should say the previous board.
Which paragraphs do?
Page,
What did you want to change it?
the previous board.
You say page 5?
I wasn't here.
You say page 5?
5.
The second paragraph down.
Just a couple of typos.
Okay.
Both sides.
Yeah.
That corrected, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'm still looking at it.
Okay.
I'll second. I made a motion to second it.
Page
So it's all in favor. Yes, I just circled it. Just so you guys know, we have so many pages on the minutes now. They are available a few days before the meeting, if you guys want to swing in and get them out of your mailbox to go over them and be ready for them. Next on the agenda, we have Steve Clement, Tri-Sales, explanation of leak report data loggers. Steve Clement's been working with Tri-Sales for 13 years as a territory manager. Tri-Sales is a water and wastewater supplier based out of Sudbury, Mass, covering all of New England and upstate New York. Steve covers Maine, some of New Hampshire, and the North Shore. Tri-Sales is the exclusive Neptune water meter distributor in this area and has approximately 400 water utilities using their meters and reading systems. Steve is responsible for helping the water utility understand the meter technology and the equipment, as well as helping them organize their systems through new metering technologies developed. Dave?
All right. Well, thanks for having me come in. Talk about the water meter. I guess there's been some issues, I suppose, or wanted to know how the whole thing works. So I'll try to explain that and then show you some benefits to the water utility, but also to the customers as well. So about 3.5 years ago, the town of Raleigh did a major meter upgrade. They went from their older technology to this new meter. This is called an eCoder R900i. That's a fancy name for it. And so they changed out all 1,800 plus meters in the town. Now the utility can go out and drive by all the different houses and pick up the meter reading in a fraction of the time it used to take them. It can do what used to take a couple weeks or so in a day. And it also gives them a whole lot more information than what they're used to. So, a few good things about this meter. It not only, it's a solid state eCoder. There's a radio built right into it, so the water utility will get in and drive by. This sends out a signal. They collect the reading, and they come back and they build the consumption. It not only gives you the water reading, but it does leak detection as well, and it's pretty important for the utility to get leak detection. But it's also very important for the customer as well. They can run reports from the readings and show the leak status of any households that are showing the leak. And then hopefully they can notify the customer and they can repair them. So a few things that they'll do, after they go out and read the water meters, they'll produce these reports. And it will show various leaks. This one happens to be a continuous leak report. And without really getting into the weeds of how this meter works, it says that this water has been going on for a certain amount of time, 24 hours a day. The water has never stopped, and in these particular houses. So the department could then call these houses, send out an email, and hopefully these guys will take a look at their meter, turn off all their faucets, and make sure they don't have any more leaks in their house, and they can view the water meter and do the same. So it's a good way for the customer to be, the water department to be proactive, help their customers, but they're also getting paid for what they're producing. So it benefits both sides. The water utility collecting the money, but the homeowner trying to reduce their water bill by paying attention to the consumption. If the homeowner decides, I have my water bill's too high. Probably never happens in this town, but people always kind of complain that their water bills are too high. If they're on this leak report, I'm sure the water department can do a data download for them and produce some fancy graphs that show where and when, I guess, or when the leak started, and how long this leak has been going on. So this meter will keep 96 days of history of what happened at the water, at the meter. Now, just to be clear, this meter, it's a smart meter as it's called, but it doesn't know what's happening in the house, contrary to what a lot of people think. It only knows that water is moving through the meter. It doesn't know that Miss Homeowner is taking a shower or anything like that. It just knows that water is flowing through the meter. And it keeps a tally of what's happening every 15 minutes, every day, for 96 days, and then it's a running 96-day history of what happened. So the homeowner thinks they had an exceptionally high bill. They can do a data download and produce these graphs. And this one happens to be for 3 months, and it has all these high spikes in it, so they can zero in on a particular day or a couple days, and they can show where the water has turned on. And you can see on this report, this is from the July 14th and 15th, and it shows a beautiful little line right there, showing that the water has never turned off throughout the day and a half or whatever this was in this particular segment. So the water department is able to show the customer, look, your water came on a particular day, and it has not shut off for X amount of days. In this case, it could be as much as 3 months long. A lot of different things why the water is left on. Again, probably never happens in this town, but maybe a faucet that's leaking, or the hose that's been left on by the grandkids out there. Or maybe there's an irrigation system that we're all forgetting about now, but just a little weeping leak out there. And the number one reason for leaks, anybody?
Toilets.
There you go. The toilet is always the culprit. So this meter, if no one knows that you have the water meter, this is all in your basements, or maybe there's some meter pits here. I don't know, maybe 100 meter pits out there, something like that nature. But it's in your house someplace. High resolution read, where the old water meters used to read down to 1 gallon. This thing reads down to 1/100th of a gallon. So it's going to find that little leak that's happening, and it's going to capture it all the time. So again, that helps the water utility, but also the homeowner can look down at this water meter and say, hey, look, I have water running. What the heck could it be? So Mary Beth has got these nice little dye tablets that she put out here, and apparently you can come here and pick them up, and it shows how to use these. You pop them in the back of your toilet. Don't use the toilet, and let it sit there for a little bit, and if there's blue dye in the bowl, you got at least a leak there. That's the number one culprit. Reading the water meter, if you want me to go over that, it's a high resolution read, so it has 9 digits to look at. Reading left to right, there's 7 digits, a decimal point, and then 2 more digits down to the 1/100th. And if the homeowner takes a LED flashlight, or maybe a smartphone that has the app for a flashlight, they can turn this. I'll even let you do it because I do it. It's very simple. You just gotta shine it right on this. You put it right on where that thing is, and it lights it right up. The first couple numbers mean nothing, but then it has the reading on it. It also shows the rate of flow, the rate per minute. So, geez, all my water's off in my house, and I still seem to have flow in my meter. But you can go down and you can see that arrow pointing in the positive direction. It has a little plus.
And you can read the meter, so you know it's not off. It's
Yep.
off.
And it will show that the rate of flow, what it's going per minute, how much it's accumulating, down to the 1/100th of a gallon. So it's pretty accurate, pretty low flow. And again, the homeowner has to kind of go down through the checklist and see where that leak might be. It's a very accurate meter. It's only capturing water that's going through the meter. Meters don't ever run, never run fast. They always tend to start running slow. So there's a brand new meters for you, and I think they're doing exactly what they should be doing actually, because she's produced these nice reports that have a lot of leaks out there. So people on Haverhill Street and Railroad and many streets here ought to be kind of looking at their meters. I guess there's like 66 or something like that here. But nonetheless, Mary Beth will, I'm sure, notify him somehow and try to get those corrected. So a nice high resolution reading. It does leak detection. It does a lot of other things, backflow detection, no flow. It does those sorts of things. In that Neptune packet that I gave you, it has the write-up on the water meter, and on the back of that sheet shows you the icons that it shows when you flash the light, if there's a continuous leak, if there's an intermediate leak, the rate of flow. Shows you all those different things. It also has all the digits, so you can kind of look at how to read the water meter. Again, left to right, there'll be 7 dials, or 7 places, a decimal point, and then 2 more. And I put that in your sheet, in your packet as well. So it's that first one with the arrow. And takes a little bit to look at it when you get to your house. You flash the light on, it takes a minute. Again, those first couple numbers that come up don't mean anything to you or me, but then it'll get to the reading and the rate. And if you sit there for just a couple seconds, you'll see that. So it's What do you? Any questions on that?
Still,
Yeah, the low flow, I mean, something like a gallon an hour. Can they pick up a gallon an hour leak?
Sure. Figure it out 100 of it.
100th of a gallon an hour. Now, what's the accuracy there versus like 10 gallons an hour?
Not as well. Those meters are accurate down to 1/8 of a gallon. Very accurate to 1/8 of a gallon.
An hour or?
1/8 of a gallon, yeah, a minute. 1/8 of a gallon, a minute.
A minute.
Yep. But then it'll show you that water's going through somewhere, so it's going to accumulate and add up on that meter.
So is there an accuracy figure that you have that shows something that's under 1/8 of a gallon or 1/8 of a gallon a minute versus like 10 gallons a minute?
It's not, it's warranted for 1/8 of a gallon. That's what the manufacturer has it warranted for, 1/8 of a gallon. But it will show you other flows. But as far as a printed warranty or anything, no, I do not.
Okay. So, and then the other thing is with the, we see a lot of these things come in, keep looking for abatements. And mostly we look at the peaks. The peaks are exorbitant. But what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that it's that bottom line that's steady that tells that there's a leak going on there? So
on this report, this one again is from the 26th of June to the 30th of September. And so I'll get into the weeds a little bit of how this meter works. This meter takes a 24-hour day and breaks it up into 15-minute intervals. And there's 96 15-minute intervals in a day. So That meter, every 15 minutes, will go down to the meter and look at it and say flow, check it. Next 15 minutes, flow. Next 15 minutes, no flow, doesn't check. And it tallies that up. And after 24 hours, it'll have the tally. And if there's up to 49 check marks, 15-minute intervals that were showed water, they call that regular flow. We all have our routine. Get up in the morning, we shower, we make breakfast, we go to work, we come back, we dinner, laundry, go to bed. And everyone has a kind of a pattern that they do. If there's 50 to 95 checks, that's a lot of water that's gone through there. But one of those 15 minutes, they were able to shut the water off completely. So we're going to call that an intermediate leak. And then if all 96 are checked, that's a continuous leak. And that's what this report showed. It shows 35 days of continuous leaks right there, but on this page right here, 8 to 14, and then it keeps tallying them up. And those are the continuous leaks. And so what you can do, if somebody thinks they have that exorbitant bill, well, let's go down and check it out. We'll download the information off the meter. It takes about 5 minutes to do. You have to get to the meter. It takes about 5 minutes, and then they can print off this report, and they can tell, well, right here on this day, on July 17th, it looks like we had quite a spike in water. Let's zero in, and actually all the red marks show that the water never turned off from the 11th to the 26th, and they were able to shut it off, and then it came back on, and so I think there's a toilet going on. And then you can take one of those days and drill down from there and really start to look at hourly data.
What my really question is this is an indication of a leak?
Yes.
Because it's
Constant, so you can look
line.
at the time. Yep, it's...
So is this just a blow up of this?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
What they did is they just took one of those days, and it was the 17th or 16th or 17th, and they blew that up to hourly.
Okay.
Yep.
So if we look at these big spikes, we should also look at something like that.
Yeah, you should blow it up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you gotta drill down for the customer. That it becomes very telling when you have something like that with a straight line across, and that's from 12:30 till 6:30 in the morning, straight across water. So something's been happening right there.
So is this list basically looking at those graphs with that straight line?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is this yours too? Or is this ours?
That one's yours.
The homeowner wouldn't know that he has a leak unless they go down and check the meter to see if there's movement.
That's true, yes. They would have to go down and check that regularly if they wanted to.
Right.
Um,
Now, the water department wouldn't know that there's a leak. They don't get an alert from the Neptune meter that says, hey, it's been running continuously, check this out. They would have to look at the data.
what they would have to do, it doesn't call into them. Well, when you have all radios as you do here, most of the departments will go out and read all the meters once a week, once every other week, and then they'll run these reports. And they'll show, oh, geez, look, there's a lot of continuous leaks, 66 of them. So maybe we should start notifying some of these people.
So the water department has to run the report on every meter to see which ones are.
That is correct. Yep. Yep.
So what we will do with these accounts that, on this continuous leak report, Penachuk will be sending a letter notifying the customer that, we suspect it might be.
I know now, I'm third on the list.
Okay, well, you'll be getting a letter from Penachuk.
Nice first case for it.
That there's a leak and that, letting you know, and that, you have to try to figure it out. And that's why, one of the things I did was get these guide tabs, because the number one culprit is the toilet, and it's got some step-by-step instructions inside on what to do. And you don't always have to hear water running in a toilet for there to be a leak. So this will tell the tale. When you put this in the back of the tank and let it sit for 15, 20 minutes, don't flush it, don't use any water, and you'll come back and it will be completely blue. And you'll know you have a leak. And luckily with that kind of repair, it's an inexpensive repair, you buy those kits at the local hardware store, and, but, if it's not that, now you have to, you gotta find it. Because if it's not, if you have irrigation, then you may wanna have your company that services your, irrigation system come and check out. I mean, all it takes is it could be a pinhole leak in a piece of tubing, and you may not see a puddle of water in your front yard. It could take a long time, but yet this water is continuing to leak, drip out, and this water meter is picking up every single drop that goes through it.
So what you can do is, if you do have the irrigation system, that seems to be a big culprit these days, is turn off the water in your basement to the irrigation system, and then check things out. Do your toilets first. If that doesn't show anything, kind of watch your sinks, and if they're not dripping. I put a little little ruler in everybody's packet. So shows that a little hole like this, if you have a drip that's dripping the size of one of these little holes, and how much water can be wasted in 3 months. And a lot of people, it opens up a lot of people's eyes when they look at that. Geez, that's been dripping like that for months and months. But there's a lot of water that can come through. So you got to kind of go through it. Takes a little time. People may have to call a plumber. But at least they know they're not going to be surprised in 3 months, if they pay attention, and try to address the water leak. You had a question?
Yeah, when you show the red lines on the chart, is that indicating the number of points, or is it indicating the number of gallons? In other words, if a homeowner calls the water department and says, my bill is astronomical.
Yep.
You run that report, does that show gallons, or is it showing that it ran, the 96 points you had water coming through here 96 times, or does it show that, you ran 100 gallons that day versus?
Yep, you're absolutely right. It shows, it's identified by the checks, but then it does have a value for the amount that's leaking through. And in this case, on an hourly basis, it says it's about, I'm going to call that about 85 gallons.
So in other words, yeah, okay, I don't need to say it, but I believe you.
Yep.
So in other words, if a customer is looking for an abatement because their water bill jumped up, what you're saying, what the water department should do is send someone out to get a reading off the meter, produce a report similar to what you have here, and they can show the homeowner exactly what their water meter has been doing for the last, up to 90 days or whatever.
I have other towns around that had to give out abatement, were giving out abatements regularly, and they had these e-coders, and they started doing some downloads and producing these reports, and those abatements have stopped. Because, it's too bad for the homeowner, although now they do know they had a leak and they'll fix it, but the water department has to produce that water and deliver that water, and it costs money to do that, and so they're collecting that money back. And we're trying to help out the customers, and if they can do it monthly, I don't know how, if they'll be able to do that or not, but emails, if everyone starts giving email addresses that we all have, it makes it very simple to send out an email blast to the people.
So we bill monthly, so really, there's no reason, if I pay $50 a month and all of a sudden my bill is $80 for no particular reason, I'm doing everything the same, then I should really call the water department or call Penachuk and say, my bill is up, can I get someone to check the reading, and then
Can take a look at that.
that would be the more or less.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Before we start giving abatements and
Oh,
saying,
yeah.
oh yeah, it's.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, everyone has kind of a routine. Yours is $50 a month routine. Someone might be 42, someone might be 80,
It's
whatever.
gonna
it is.
fluctuate a little bit each month.
Sure.
Barring you turning on the sprinkler system in the
That's
summer
right.
or something.
Washing the cars in the summer, filling the pool. People forget about those things when they do those in July and get billed in September for those in October. They forget all about that stuff. How hot it was and dry, and they ended up washing their car or watering the lawn or whatever. So yeah, but that's exactly what it's designed to do. If you're billing monthly, wonderful. If you can get out there every week, every other week. I don't know how long it takes to read this town, but I know the equipment that they have in it easily within a day.
It's a great program from the Sun.
Mm-hmm.
What is the reasonable life expectancy of a meter? When would it become into the questionable?
I guess I'm not 100% sure in Mass. I think it's 8 to 10 years. It is in Maine. It's 8 to 10 years. They should be tested, replaced, or repaired. Is it the same year? Okay, there we are. So about 8 to 10
Depending on the
years.
size.
Depending on, well, yes, of course, depending on the size. As the meter size goes up, the time frame gets shorter. But these should last, whatever it is, easily 10 years and then beyond. And when you test them, you know, they generally test right out. Sometimes they don't, but they never go fast.
How about the battery life?
The battery life in that meter is a 20-year battery. 20-year battery.
Wow.
And also the register, it becomes 20 years because it's all attached. It's integrated right into that register. So you got 20-year life. The body of the meter is warranted for life, for defects. If it ever freezes and doesn't blow out the frost plate, comes out the side of the meter, out the top of the meter, wherever, warranted 100% for life. And so you got a pretty solid investment there. So I don't know if I explained that well enough.
Very good,
To
Steve.
do all right. Anything else, Mary Beth?
No, that was great, thank you.
Go over? Okay. All right, well, I guess that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you.
Thank you,
Sure,
Steve.
water meter.
That's my flashlight.
Thanks for coming in.
You got it. Well, you want to keep it? Home Depot, $4. Thank you very much.
Good night.
All right, old business, Fennel Drive discussions, private roads, water mains. Yeah. We did that. Yeah, I made a motion, you second.
Chairman Ricker,
Yeah.
I actually put a question mark, I was gonna go back to that at the end of the meeting.
Okay,
I'm not quite sure that the vote followed through to the end. So you might wanna do that, or,
you wanna do that now?
it's your
Well,
call.
I mean, if you'd like, let me read it a little bit longer. I mean, if the policy's gonna be, come in here before and read, you know, these 12 pages of, I should be, you know, done in about 5 minutes, so unless you want to bring this up the next meeting. You want to do that?
That's your call.
Two?
It'll give us some time to look at it.
You wanna do that next meeting?
Continue on, and if you read it,
Okay.
bring it up at the end.
Bring it up in the end.
Excuse me.
All right, the old business, Fennel Drive discussion about private roads and water mains. After having a discussion with water superintendent regarding Fennel Drive and water main extensions on private roads, it is my opinion that the board should not entertain these projects at this time. These are private roads not accepted or owned by the town, and therefore we should not be extending any water mains. Discussion?
No, I think as far as Fennel Drive is concerned, last December was a very good example. They had a water break on Kittery Avenue. Had to shut the water down. Mansion Drive was without water a good part of the day. And if Fennel Drive was looped into Mansion Drive, you would have a complete loop, not only for safety, but sanitation. You eliminated a dead end. Heaven forbid that if there was a fire there that day, this way the water would overflow, they could shut down while they were working, it would come in from the other way. That's all I have to say.
Yes, Dick.
Yeah, Dave Peterson from the Board of Selectmen, the problem comes in the fact that Fennel Drive, and we've just, the town's been involved in a long lawsuit with a number of parties, a couple of parties that live on Fennel Drive, plus the owner of the nursing home up there. And the problem is that we don't own, that Fennel Drive is owned by the abutters. And we have no authority to, basically it's illegal for us to, unless we go through there and either take by eminent domain if people don't want, don't want the water to run through there, then we would have to take land by eminent domain involving court suits, and with the court suit we've just been through and the settlement we've reached, it was a long I think it went
Because
over
something's gonna
like
happen
two,
overnight,
3
that's
or
for sure.
4 year period with the homeowners that are out there, so that you're talking about a situation that, yeah, I agree with Mr. Tazell, but it'd be great if we could loop it, but it's a legal issue that the town, we don't have any authority to go on private property and run water mains. And it's the same thing with a couple other streets that, it's the same situation developed, we're in a pickle because we don't have the authority to do that on private property. We'd like to, it'd be nice if we could do it, but it's a long, drawn-out legal process.
Has the town seeked any easement requests with these property owners?
Not on Fennel Drive, because we've just gone through, like, for instance, we own a lot of land on Fennel Drive by the bridge that goes through there, if you're familiar with it. And the big battle was over, for instance, to run, who owns the bridge? Well, the town owns 25% of the bridge. The other 3 landowners each own, give or take, 25%. So you'd have to get everyone's consent, and at this point, there are certain landowners that don't want anybody going up there at all. And it really boils down to a fight with right-of-way, who is the right-of-way, and then who's responsible for repairing the road, and who's responsible for repairing the bridge if there's an issue, who's responsible if someone drives off the bridge and has an accident, it's a very complicated legal issue that we've gone through. That's just Fennel Drive, it's not dealing with, there's same thing with up on, was it Kathleen Circle, is that the other one listed? Well, that goes back, I know there's a large number of landowners up there that, at the time, it was Christopher Road, Intervale Circle, and Kathleen Circle, that the developer at the time bailed out.
At one time,
And
somebody
about
came
3
in-
years ago, all the residents from Christopher Drive came to the town and wanted us to approve their road as a town road versus an unapproved road. It was once again, a long process, but every one of the homeowners agreed. We did some friendly takings of land, and as well as the developer, the heirs, the trust, and it goes back from a couple of,
I
20,
remember a
30,
couple of
40
years back, Tim and I was on the board, that the guy that's up there on Route 1 with the industrial park thing, he wanted to do something.
Well, the
He
issue
never
of,
came back to us.
well, the issue up on that whole Kathleen Circle was the fact that the owner of the industrial park wanted to put a 40B housing development at the end of the road that would come out onto Kathleen Circle. The residents of Kathleen Circle wanted no part of the 40B project, so as long as Kathleen Circle wasn't a town way, that prevented that development from going through. So all these things have, it's too bad that it wasn't approved back when the developer was still around, but those 3 roads have been in limbo for 20, 25, 30 years or whatever. Christopher Road finally got straightened out a couple of years ago. There's been no push by any of the residents on either Intervale or Kathleen Circle to make that complete. So, yeah, there are some issues, but we're kind of stuck with, unless we want to pursue court action and take these roads by eminent domain, and it's more complicated than that. I'm not completely familiar with the total legal process, but, it'd be nice to loop all these roads. If you don't want it dead end water main anywhere, and I understand part of the issue with Fennel Drive is the nursing home wants to use Fennel Drive as a second means of egress, so that's part of what the whole court suit has been about, is them, fighting with the landowners that own halfway to the center, who can do what on that road. So, I mean, it's certainly something we can revisit again, I guess, but it's not something that's gonna happen anytime soon, and certainly not gonna be able to put a water main down there anytime in the near future.
Mr. Snow.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Bob Snow, Board of Selectmen. Just to add what Dave was saying, it's not just those 3 at the bridge. There's homeowners out beyond on Fennel Drive. So there's many
Yep.
people involved here.
All righty. Any other questions? Okay, under new business, discuss the open positions for the secondary operator, labor distribution, and temporary office support. Mary Beth will update the board and staff.
Okay, well, currently, the administrative assistant is still out on family medical sick leave. And so, had some issues with keeping the office open because I'm the only one here, so when I leave, the office is closed. So I've been working with the personnel office to try to get some temporary support so that we can have some some regular hours. So right now, this is what we've come up with. So Mondays we have somebody here physically in the office from 8 to 10, and possibility that we'll be able to extend those hours, posted hours, till 2 o'clock with some additional support staff. We're looking at the ASME clerical positions in the town and seeing if, some of the part-time people will come over and work at the water department. So that's what we're currently doing. Tuesday, we have posted hours from 8 to 10. Wednesday, 8 to 11:30. Thursday, we just added that today. Thursday will be 8 to 12, and Friday, 8 to 12. We're trying to keep the office manned at least until 2 o'clock, but right now, those are the hours that I have with somebody physically being here, which is a lot better than what it's been. So those are the hours that I'll be posting, and as we can add and extend that, I'll update the posted hours on the hours. We will be posting the secondary operator's position. We still have one position funded and open from the last time. So we'll be posting that, as well as the position that passed at the town meeting. With this, the title of this position is Water System Labor Treatment Operator. So this is a laborer's position. And the board had mentioned at a previous meeting that they wanted to fill a laborer position. So we'll be putting this out for advertisement, both of those two positions. I think this one is currently posted in-house right now. So any in-house candidates that will be interested, they'll submit whatever they're required to submit, and we'll start taking a look at any resumes and applications that come in and try to get these two positions filled. Any questions?
I have no questions.
Discuss the revenue issues. Customers not paying the water bills. Mary Beth will update the board.
Okay, so getting back to those reports that we were able to pull. One of the reports in your handout, you have this little spreadsheet, and I asked Penachuk to provide me with information going back. I went back as far as March of 2014, and each month, when we read the water meters, because we do read them monthly, we bill a certain amount based upon those readings. And then over the course of the next several weeks, people will pay their water bills. And after a certain time period, that month is done, and we have, so if you look at this spreadsheet for March, if you see, like, for example, in April, we bill for $124,579, and we only took in about 108. So that we're showing that there's more and more rolling over that we're not collecting in revenue. So right now, this, just so you know, this is just like a quick glance at things. This does not include any abatements or any other. This is just strictly based upon water meter readings. So it's about $156,000, and that doesn't include like any interest that would have accrued over the last several months for these unpaid bills. The other thing in here is, I handed this out, this is an update, this is the spreadsheet on the no reads. These, there are about 26 of them, and for one reason or another, we're unable to get our reading. Some of them, we're gonna be taking care of. We've got, there are meters that are in pits, so we're gonna be going out to replace those meters, so we'll start to generate some revenue from those. Some of the customers have been sent postcards and have been notified that we're unable to get a reading, and to please call Penachuk to schedule an appointment so that we can come out and check the water meter out or replace it. And we have not had any success on several of these accounts. We're just being ignored. So one of the things I mentioned at one of the last meetings is that we have a policy, but it doesn't go into detail of how the water department should handle it. We have in the rules and regulations that for the water department, we have a section in there called payment of bills. And there are, the one in your packet lists the first 9, and the one I'm interested in is number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 7. So number 3 is, all bills due to the water department and services are payable at the office of the Raleigh Water Department. Checks and money orders shall be made payable to the town of Raleigh Water Department. So on that one, I'm gonna be, for the next meeting, I'll have a draft. But I'd like to put in, to add to that, when is the payment due? By the due date on the posted bill. Or to add to that, to be a little more detailed as to when the payment would be due. Number 4 is inoperative or underread meters. When a meter fails to register the consumption or is not read by the water department, a quantity shall be estimated based on previous consumption patterns and a charge shall be so billed. So currently, any of the accounts we're not able to read, they're being estimated. And based upon a time frame in the past when the meter was registering and we were able to get a reading. So each one of those goes back a different time period. The next one is water not used. All water passing through a water meter shall be charged whether it's used or wasted. So that means that if you have a leak, you're responsible for the water bill. That's what that means, is that whether you're using it to wash your dishes or you have a leaking toilet, this makes it the responsibility. So it is the responsibility of the homeowner to fix the leak. Number 7 is unpaid bills. Unpaid bills shall become, at some point, this is the one I want to expand on, but unpaid bills shall become property tax liens per Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40, Section 42A, as amended and subjected to termination of water service. So that's the one that I would like to really expand on, and I've included in your package a draft water billing procedures, which has a flow chart on what direction the water department will go in. So for example, the monthly water bills go out on the 10th of each month. The customer pays the bill in full, we're all set. If the customer does not pay the bill, a second letter would be generated letting them know that they're behind in their water bill and they haven't paid it. If the customer pays the bill at that point, we're all set. If the customer doesn't pay the bill, a third letter would be generated. Again, if the customer pays the bill at that point, we're all set. If the customer still does not pay the water bill, the property will be tagged, a letter will be sent notifying the customer that this is the final notification and that the property was to be tagged and the water service will be terminated. So also in your packet, I drafted up, which I'm getting pricing on, tags that we can tag the door. And there are several things that we can use this tag for. And some of the examples would be, it might just say, contact Penachuk to schedule an appointment for a meter change. So if that's the one, we would check that box. Termination of water service for non-pay, or termination of water service for denying access to the water meter. Some of those accounts on here, we need to get inside the house to change the water meter. And if we can't do that, the only leverage a water department has is pay your bill, let us change the meter, or we're gonna terminate your service. That's really the only thing. But it's not gonna be that we're not gonna try to notify them. We're gonna do several attempts to notify, and so somebody can't come home at the end of the day and say, hey, my water is off. Well, you were notified, we have the history, we track it, And there are charges associated for reinstating the water. It's a $50 charge to turn the water back on. Once we turn it back off, that's in our rules and regulations, currently set. And this is a revenue issue. We're a very small department. We don't generate a lot of funds. I know people think they pay a lot of money for water, but over the last 6 weeks, I've been personally opening up every single water bill that has come into this office, and they're low. I think on one day, the highest water bill I opened was $17, and I opened 30 water bills. That's not a lot of money. So every dollar that we can't collect, you know, we need to collect what's due to us. So we need to take a look at this policy. So I would welcome any suggestions or comments if the board would like, you know, if you want to comment or drop off something that we can incorporate for discussion at another meeting. I would welcome any assistance with this, but this is what I've come up with in more detail so that it's clearer, because right now, this is, just so you know, this is standard practice in the water industry, where you send out several letters, and then you tag the property. So it's standard practice, but it would be nice if we had a written policy on that. So if the board wouldn't mind helping me out by taking a look and maybe giving me some comments.
What's the time from when they short the money for the water bill to the time they turn the water on?
I'm sorry, say that again?
When they stop paying or can't pay the water bill, how much time goes by before you turn the water off?
Well, you mean, so if we so a customer doesn't pay the water bill, okay,
Yeah.
we send them a first letter, say, hey, you didn't pay your water bill, pay it by this date. And so you're asking the time frame between each of these letters?
Well,
I
say
think,
July 1st, somebody can't pay the bill.
Yep.
And then say they get sick or something like that. And they get all these letters and they don't respond to anything. So when does the water get turned on?
if a customer ignores all of the letters that we send and we tag the door and we say on the tag, we'll be back tomorrow at 8 AM to shut your water off, the water's getting shut off.
Okay, so what's the time, what would be the
I
expected time between?
was kind of looking, maybe it would take about, it would be like a 45 days, but that's what we need to talk about is, you know, when do we, you know, if you don't pay the bill, the first letter goes out. What kind of response time do we want to put in these letters? And we want, you know, we don't want to let this drag out for 6 months. If, you know, if somebody has fallen on hard times or somebody is ill, I mean, it's happened to all of us, we all have to pay our bills. The right thing to do is to pick up the telephone and call Penachuk. We do offer a payment plan, and customers would be put on a payment plan, but you have to pay it. We're spending money every day to keep the water flowing, and if we don't have the cash flow coming in, the water's gonna stop flowing. We're not gonna have the money to pay our own bills.
I know that, but once a year, we put liens on all these properties that can't pay their bill.
Yes.
So, is that something that's done after they shut the water off, or is this something you've done too before?
Okay, so that's done separately. So as part of normal routine operating throughout the course of the year, we would try to get on top and collect the revenue during the course of the year. And as a matter of fact, it will be coming up at our next meeting. We'll be talking about that. And I'll be, talking with the chair about that and possibly having Penachuk come in and talk about what we're gonna do. But last year, apparently the board set a dollar amount, or set what liens. There's more, we'll talk about that, but we will be putting liens on properties, but there are water bills that haven't been paid since 2012. 2012. And from what I can see, there was no liens put on these. So not every account is getting a lien. You know, the water department isn't putting, or the town isn't putting a lien on a property if they have like, $20 outstanding bill. But there are several, I'll have a report.
Well, that's usually when we get payments start coming in, because of I think, don't we notify that there's
Yes.
a lien going on?
Yes,
What's
All of
the
a
cost
sudden,
to
the
put a lien on?
checkbooks come out?
I'm not sure, I'll have to look that.
I mean, you know, for a $20 bill, to spend $100, put a lien on.
It comes back when they pay the bill, because they have to pay for the lien.
Oh, okay.
I believe last year we voted,
You did, but
if
you
they,
did.
they were $500, that's when the lien would go on.
Okay, so we're gonna have to we'll talk about that at our next meeting, but that is, in more detail, but that is something we'll have to be thinking about is what is gonna be the threshold. But I think when I give you the reports with what's outstanding, you know, we really should be collecting every single dollar.
Yeah.
We need to.
What does the power company do as far as, when do they, if they haven't got anybody paying their electric bills, when do they turn the power off? Do they have a policy over there?
I think their policies are a little, they do have policies, I can find out what they are, but their policies are a little different, as far as their shut-off policies. Theirs might even change seasonally, you know, because of winter, electricity with heat.
This is different with commercial, I think it's a shut.
So I can check on that
With
for
commercial.
the next meeting if you'd like.
Yeah, it might be suggesting from me that we do be consistent throughout the town. On this revenue statement, Mary Beth, what is the 118,000? It's a balance, beginning balance?
This sheet right here, Mr. Chairman?
Yes. So it suggests there was a beginning balance
Oh, I see.
back
Okay,
in
yeah.
April,
Mm-hmm.
or not, in February?
Okay, so, these records are from when Penachuk, started, taking over the billing and the customer service. And I apologize that I'm drawing a blank on the 118, but I can find out for you what that is. I think that might have been a forwarding balance that was given, to Penachuk, but I can get that information
So
for
was
you.
that when Penachuk took over? Yeah, it was about
Yeah.
when they took over,
Well,
right?
the same beginning balance of 118, and then it lists each month, the money beside it.
That might have been maybe February's.
It's our fiscal year, it begins July 1st. You would hope that we got, what we had come in is gonna cover the budget. So I'm looking at this too, right now, this goes back to March. I think it might be helpful if we look at what our budget is this year. I don't know, start, you know, from July 1st. It looks here like since March, we've given out, the discounts taken, because people paid early, is close to 11,000.
No, it's more like 36, you gotta add all those up. It's more than that, so that 10,000, this is per month, that's what,
Okay,
That's-
so in September, the discount was, that we gave out was 11,000? Really? Okay. And then what we collected, I'm just trying to get a handle on what's this here for, so right now, net, we're in the, we have 44,856 that we need to be collecting.
in September.
September, I mean, yeah.
So it's a total of $156,000, $917.02.
So we were in the hole, 118,000?
Right, so what happens is that, the water bills go out on the 10th of the month, and then people pay their bills, and then it's those people, so you have to have a cutoff point, because people are still paying their water bills today, and they were due on the 31st. We've already read meters for the next billing cycle. So Penachuk has to have a cutoff, okay, so.
So the discount goes to the end of the month.
Right, so anybody who paid their bill after Friday does not get the discount.
Right.
And people have been paying their bills yesterday and today because I've been processing them. Those people that do not get the discount, because it's after 31st. So what happens is that sometimes the revenues for the previous month come in the next month. So if you look on okay, so for example, so in September, we billed for about $210,000, but we collected $244. Because that extra money is
Came from the month
probably from
before.
maybe some past water bills that people pay or catching up on their water bill. So it goes back and forth, but the issue is that it's trending upward.
Yeah, but it's still kind of, I'm kind of confused. What is the $156,917.02?
That's what we have not collected in revenue.
It's the total of these here.
Yeah.
Total this.
Yeah, added up.
So, Mary Beth, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, so the 118,000 at the top must be the carrying forward before Penachuk took it up.
Exactly, that's the way I'm reading it.
Yeah, that's right.
So, for instance, if you look at July, for instance, you billed $207,312. You took in $186,905. $6,400 was a legitimate reduction because of the discount. So therefore, you were short almost $14,000 in the month of July. So over time, in August, obviously, you went up to, you were short 81,000, but you made up some of that in September. People that might have been away on vacation, who knows, and they come back and pay their bill. So I guess the scary thing is that if you're not collecting this money, you don't want the rates to go up, but if you don't collect the money, the rates are gonna have to go up. So I think this is the importance of this whole discussion, is that people need to pay, and if they don't pay, ultimately, I know in talking to the treasurer, for instance, on liens, she says that with the light department, that they've been very successful. I think Tim mentioned it earlier, as soon as you put a lien on someone's house, they're down paid just like that. And so, I mean, that's why it's imperative that we establish a policy and follow through on it. And yeah, if someone has let's say they want a light department or anybody else, if they have a family tragedy or difficulty in paying or lose a job or whatever, that they need to go down and come to the water department and say, look, I got a problem, okay, we'll put you on a payment plan. We're not looking to nail everybody to the wall, but the department, when the people don't pay the bill, the other customers take up the slack, and it's just been, right now, I think it appears as though she's trying to, and you guys are looking to establish a real clear policy, and something that the people out there understand that, this doesn't happen, and ultimately you get a tag and you do it, they're gonna shut the water down, and they are in fact gonna shut the water down.
One of these things that should be.
You'd rather avoid the liens if you can. In fact, you don't even want to get to the point where there's a tag in your door, but I know the power, when the power company shuts off, and they do it quite a bit, it gets people, obviously wakes people up. But it's sad you gotta do that, but that's, we wanna keep this department running, we gotta collect money. And same thing with, it's like taxes on your property. If people don't pay taxes, everybody else pays more, so everybody pays their fair share of what they use. And in conjunction with that, you're giving people this leak detection information that's gonna help them to, people that say their bills are huge, we'll find, the water department will come down and take a look and, see if you can find a leak in the toilet or irrigation system or wherever.
Mr. Chairman, if you go to Raleigh Municipal Lighting Plant website, customer accounts, and then from customer accounts, terminations. And it's a whole procedure on terminations from Raleigh Municipal Lighting Plant. There's four different items brought up here. Okay, but they're also governed by Massachusetts law because it's dealing with heat and certain seasonal too.
I don't think we come underneath that.
I'm not sure, but then to check into it.
I think ours would be like health department, because you can't be without water, but, you can work with the person to get, because, really, it's not fair. We have people that pay their bills on time, and then we have those that are not. And it's the ones that, that are paying the bills, that are gonna have to pick up the slack, and if we can't get a handle on getting this done, I know the board doesn't want to, but if we want to continue to operate that new $12 million plan, which is very expensive to maintain, we have to have the revenue and the funds to do that.
I would like to say, should we do something different with commercial accounts such as the electric department does? They'll set you up sooner with a commercial account than residential.
Excuse me, I just looked up, but if you look under Massachusetts government, 220 CMR 25.00. There's a whole procedure, the billing and termination procedures of the Department of Telecommunications and Energy. And they do mention, just quickly reading through here, it does mention water utilities. So you may be governed by that.
Thank you.
So I'm just looking at this one thing again, Mary Beth. We start off with 118,000. As a board member, I'm looking at $156,000 that we haven't collected. Or is it 156,000 less the 118,000 plus these other figures? Did something get washed out at the end of the fiscal year, or what is it? Or is this just a carry-on from last year, and is it carried on to this year? Because if we're looking at budgetary items, we're really looking and concerned about what's happening right now, because supposedly fiscal year 2014 is already passed. We're in the 15 now. So,
Right, I asked Penachuk to go back, to go back to March when they took over, to produce this, so that we just give a big picture of what's going on, you know, each month. But the 156, this does not include any interest on this money at all. So this number is actually higher. And it's just, it's all the months added together. is
I know,
what-
but what I would be interested in looking at, what was it at, on July 1st this year?
Okay,
So we can look forward and see how we're doing with the revenue coming forward.
Well, we
It's
we
paying for
take
those
up the
expenses.
118 and add those up until it comes to July, I think, at the end of June.
Well, just looking at July, August, and September, you add the 81 and 13 is 100 and is 94,000, take away 40,000, so you're about, for those 3 months, you're down about $50,000 in revenue, using these figures you got here. For 118 is probably a carryover. Well, what happened to all the money that's been owed for the last 20 years?
Right.
God only knows at this point. Maybe someone can go back and check that, but at least from the fiscal year of July 1st on, we know you know that you're down in revenue by, 1381 minus the 44, so you're down about $50,000 in revenue at this point. So with the budget being what it is, and when you set the rates, you're setting them based on what I'm assuming what the water bill is, and assuming that all of it's collected. If it's not all collected, then that's gonna affect how you set your rates. If after 3 months, we're down 50,000, that means 4 times, at the end of the year, you're gonna be short $200,000 if this particular trend holds true. That's a lot of money. And it's definitely gonna affect your rates and your ability to fund the budget. So any money that you set aside that's like in reserve accounts and stuff like that is gonna get eaten up because people aren't paying their bills. So it really has a huge effect when you multiply it out over the course of the year. And for her to be working with Penachuk to come up with solutions to solve that, I think is absolutely critical for the rest of the ratepayers to pay their bills month by month. And like I say, you're trying to help people with a leak detection program so that you're not only trying to collect your money, but you're trying to help people to reduce their bills. So it's a kind of a tit for tat that will ultimately benefit everybody and keep you guys in business.
Anything else? Okay, next is, open public meeting complaint. I'd like to address the complaint put forward by Commissioner Tim Toomey. I work with the town administrator to address the complaint on open public meeting law against the Raleigh Water Department, in which I was cited. And this is the complaint. I would like to bring the following information to the attention of my fellow water board members and board of selectmen. On the open meeting notice posted on Raleigh Water Department's October 7th meeting, there was no indication that the agenda would include discussing, deliberating, adopting, or voting on any new policies regarding communicating with the superintendent or directly referred to the water treatment manuals. In fact, there was a simple notation indicating that Chairman Rickett will brief the board. With that, I note the open meeting law requires that meeting notices be posted in a legible, easy, understandable format, contain the date, time and place of the meeting, and list all the topics that the chair reasonably anticipates, 48 hours in advance. We discussed at the meeting. The list of the topics must be simply specified to reasonably inform the public of the issues to be discussed at the meeting. Nevertheless, in the presence of Selectman Peterson, no less, Chairman Ricker read from a previously written multi-page document focused on his feelings relative to the board members communicating with the superintendent, ultimately requesting the board officially adopt a policy preventing any board member other than the chairman from communicating with the superintendent, indicating that such communications are in violation of the open meeting law, an opinion supported by Selectman Peterson on the record. In addition, he engaged the board in discussion with deliberation about locating, producing a water treatment manual, and requested a vote to reinforce such. Aside from all the treacherous notions that communication between the water board member and the water superintendent are in violation of the open meeting law, in my opinion, Chairman Ricker failed to reasonably inform the public about the topics he addressed at the water board meeting. Doing so under the agenda posting, Chairman Ricker will brief the board is clearly contrary to the standards legally required. I am therefore filing this complaint with the water department and the town clerk and making the following request in relation to this complaint. I request the chairman post an agenda item to address and or take relative action regarding my complaint at the next scheduled water board meeting. I request a legal moratorium and discussion to support Chairman Ricker and Selectman Peterson's interpretation that communication between a water board member and the water superintendent are in violation of the open meeting law. Should the chairman fail to take corrective action, I will pursue the matter with the Attorney General's office. So this is from Debbie Egan. She went over it. The Water Commission, the Chairman, the Board of Selectmen, the Town Clerks, surveys, an open meeting law complaint filed by Commissioner Timothy Toomey. The Board of Selectmen requested me to review the open meeting law complaint filed by the Water Commissioner Tim Toomey on October 21st, 2014, and to work with the Water Board Chairman, Roy Ricker, in response. The complaint was filed by Tim Toomey, Central Street, Raleigh. After the October 21st, 2014 Water Board Commissioners meeting adjourned, see Exhibit 1. The complaint cites that the subject of the complaint as the Raleigh Water Department and the specific person is Chairman Roy Ricker. The date of the alleged violation of the complaint form cites the following: October 7th, 2014 meeting and posting October 3rd, 2014. See page 1 of Exhibit 1. The description of the alleged violation refers to an attachment of which there appears to be 3 identical pages attached. The Raleigh Board of Water Commission is made up of 3 elected commissions consisting of a chairman, vice chairman, clerk. 2 members take up a quorum of the board. The members are as follows: Chairman Roy Ricker, Vice Chairman Stuart Dazzell Sr., and Clerk Timothy Toomey. The Water Board oversees the town of Raleigh's public water system. The town employs a full-time water superintendent who oversees the public water system compliance with all federal, state laws and regulations. The October 7, 2014 Board of Water Commissioners agenda posted agenda states that the following Chairman will address the water board. See Exhibit 2. The minutes of October 7, 2014 were approved on October 21st, 2014. The section on Chairman Ricker addresses the water board starts on page 2 and ends halfway through page 4. I reviewed this section. Minutes during this section of the meeting. Chairman Ricker reports about several issues of concern and shenanigans. Chairman Ricker and I spoke about this complaint. He explained to me that he placed Chairman Ricker would address it to the water board on the agenda because he was very concerned about the actions that the other 2 board members had taken over the past few weeks. He explained that the water board met on September 16th and during that meeting decided to schedule the next meeting for September 30th. this part here is just a little bit off, but he said that the vice chairman of the board had posted a water board meeting for September 3rd without contacting him. Stu did contact me, and I was in Maine, and we was breaking in and out of service. On this, but I didn't know what was gonna be on. He was informed by the water superintendent, Mary Beth, who had been contacted by the town hall staff that a regular water board meeting had been posted for Tuesday, September 23rd, 2014. See Exhibit 4. Jim Ricker told me that he knew nothing about this meeting. He said that he had, the water superintendent was scheduled to meet with the finance committee on September 23rd, 2014, to discuss the water board articles for the October 27th, 2014 special town meeting. See Exhibit 6. He said that there were 3 articles that had been approved to be placed in the warrant at the September 16th water board meeting. Chairman Ricker said that he and the superintendent were meeting prior to the finance committee to go over the background information and supporting data of the articles so that he would be prepared to present these articles to the finance committee. I can assess that Chairman Ricker and Water Superintendent Mary Beth Weiser did in fact attend the finance committee meeting on September 23rd, 2014, and did in fact meet at Town Hall prior to the finance committee meeting. Chairman Ricker said he was concerned about the action of the other 2 board members and the way they went about scheduling a meeting with the topics that they had discussed during the September 23rd meeting. I followed up on his concerns and requested Treasurer Dr. Karen Summit to provide me with her account of what happened on September 23rd. And he interviewed Selectman Personal Board Chairman David Peterson, who was present at the October 7th, 2014 meeting. Selectman Peterson is cited in Mr. Toomey's complaint. Selectman Peterson said that based on his observation of the meeting, there was no violation of an open meeting law by Chairman Ricker. Selectman Peterson stated to me that Chairman Ricker was addressing issues that had taken place with the grind service addressed to the board was what we need to get along and not undercut the chairman by posting meetings that he is unaware of. Selectman Peterson referred to a September 23rd, 2014 water board when posting an agenda. Selectman Peterson said that the meeting was posted as a regular meeting by the vice chairman and not as a special meeting. Selectman Peterson said that unless the chairman was out or town or ill, the chairman posted the agenda and that the water department had previously set their next meeting for September 30th. The water board meets on a regular basis of alternating Tuesdays. Selectman Peterson said the agenda didn't list anything other than reconsider articles, old business and new business, and that the water board met recently with the Board of Selectmen and supported all the draft articles for the fall special town meeting. Selectman Peterson said that it was strange that the vice chairman was posting a meeting on the same evening that the superintendent was scheduled to meet with the finance committee. Selectman Peterson said that the vice chairman was bypassing the chairman and the superintendent. Selectman Peterson said that he had planned to attend the finance committee meeting on September 23rd. Stated that he became aware later that the chairman and the superintendent were not told about the water board meeting. Selectman Peterson said he was concerned about the meeting and he requested that Raleigh Community Media have a production technician present at this meeting. Because the meetings are generally video recorded by the water department staff, Mr. Peterson said that when he arrived at the water department, everybody was standing outside because the doors were locked. He said Vice Chairman Donzel opened the outer door into the hallway, but he did not have a key to open the door to the meeting room. Selectman Peterson said that Mr. Toomey was the last to arrive, and said that while he was standing in the outer doorway, he heard a bang and a crash sound, and a few moments later saw Mr. Toomey opening the office door from the inside. Mr. Peterson said that during the September 23rd, 2014 water board meeting, neither commissioner present, Vice Chairman Stewart Desell and Timothy Toomey, appeared to be taking minutes, and there was no staff members present to take minutes. The superintendent confirmed that as of today, no meeting minutes have been provided by the board members present at that meeting. Selectman Peterson said that during the October 7th, 2014 meeting, Chairman outlined the process by which board members can request to have topics and items scheduled for the agenda. Selectman Peterson stated to me that in reference to Mr. Toomey's complaint, Selectman Peterson's point during the October 7, 2014 meeting was that the superintendent cannot be a conduit of transfer discussions, policy recommendations, options, and superintendent work assignments from one board member to the other. I contacted the Finance Committee Chairman Larry White, who attended the October 7, 2014 meeting on discussion item Chairman Rickles addressed the board. Chairman White has provided me with a memo summarizing his recollection of the meeting and his meeting notes. Mr. White's comment of Chairman Rickles' statements are consistent with Selectman Peterson's. I met with Water Board Vice Chairman Stuart Dazzell on the complaint. I asked Mr. Dazzell if he had spoken to Mr. Toomey about scheduling a meeting on Tuesday, September 23rd, 2014. See Exhibit 5. Mr. Dazzell told me that Mr. Toomey contacted him and asked him to post a meeting. I asked Mr. Dazzell who had come up with a list of items that were placed on the posted agenda. Mr. Dazzell told me that Mr. Toomey had come up with a list of 3 items for the agenda and that he had posted with town clerk. Mr. Dazzell expressed regret for what had happened concerning the September 23rd meeting. Mr. Dazzell says he wants to move the department forward and supports the policies that the board had approved at the October 21st, 2014 meeting. In conclusion, I had advised Chairman Ricker and Superintendent Mary Beth Weiser that going forward to clearly list the topics that will be placed on the agenda. This addresses Mr. Toomey's complaint that the item on the October 7, 2014 meeting, Chairman Ricker will address the water board, was not civilly specific. Mr. Toomey's other complaint about communicating with the water superintendent is moot because the water board voted on October 21st, 2014 to installate a formal policy on how meeting agendas are to be presented. See Exhibits 9 and 10. By having policy in place, incidents such as the September 23rd meeting can be prevented. I would like to make a motion to submit as a response to the open meeting public complaint submitted by Jim Toomey into the record. This will be how things are going forward. Can I get a second?
I'd like to discuss it for a minute. I didn't know you were not going to attend that meeting until you didn't show up, and you didn't tell me you were going to a finance committee meeting. So, how come you didn't come to the meeting? You went to the finance committee meeting?
Yes.
And how come the other 2 board members didn't know you were going to the finance committee meeting?
We found out what, day before, 2 days before, I don't know, whatever it
At
was.
the end of every regular scheduled meeting, we set the date for the next meeting. The regular meeting was set for September 30th. I had no knowledge of a meeting. As a matter of fact, this board instructed me to make sure that I post the agenda on the front door so that the water customers can see.
Okay.
So can you explain to me then why, for that particular meeting, there was no agenda placed at the water department on that door? There was never an agenda placed on the door.
It was posted 48 hours, and I thought it was posted on the door.
No, it wasn't.
Okay. So that's the only question I have.
No comment.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
What's the motion?
I'd like to make a motion to submit as a response to the open public meeting complaint submitted by Tim Toomey into the record. This will be how things are going forward.
Is this a policy change?
We're answering your complaint. that you-
Okay. We're gonna go forward, okay, with this complaint, okay. All right, no, I'll
All
vote for
in
that.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Water quality on the magnesium. The water department received notification from the Mass DEP informing them they had exceeded the 0.05 mgs of manganese in the finished water. The water department will now have increased monitoring to quarterly sampling for manganese. A copy of the letter along with the sampling schedule is included in your packet.
So we received a letter from the Mass DEP notifying us that we had exceeded the maximum contaminant level for manganese. And that's always been an issue in Rollins, that you have the manganese. When I first read this letter, I was like, oh my God, is this a treatment plant? Like, it wasn't. There was several samples taken. We took a sample in June at well number 2. And in June, well number 2, that one-time sample exceeded the MCL of the 0.05. This regulation actually, just so the board is aware, is changed. It's a new version of this is the secondary contaminant, which is aesthetics, staining of the toilet bowl, that kind of thing. In July of 2014, this is when the regulation changed and for the manganese. So the other well number 5, also exceeded the levels. But that was done before well number 5 is going to be putting it through the treatment plant. So if we were putting the well directly into the system without the filtration, well number 5 would have to go on quarterly. So I spoke with the Mass DEP yesterday on this to explain the situation of they'll be issuing us a new sampling schedule, and the only location that will be going on quarterly will be well number 2. Well number 3 and 5, once they go through the treatment plant will take care of the removal, and we should be below those levels. So I just wanted to make you aware. Is there any question?
So this will be, this is from the wellhead, so we're going to take more samples at the wellhead. But when it gets into the system, is it below the required limit?
No, the sample that's taken is taken like, they call it the finished water. So it's the water from...
It's the water that's going into the system?
Yeah.
Okay. But it is blended with the other wells?
It will be
Yeah.
blended, yes.
Was, Chairman isn't here. I guess my clarification is that we would expect that the water coming from well number 5 is going to have a high manganese content because it always has.
Mhm.
And the purpose of us spending $12 million is to take that manganese out of well number 5 and the other well on Boxer Road. So that in reality, they tested water that before it went through the treatment plant, whereas from now on, they're gonna test the water that comes out of the water treatment plant plus the water from well 2, which doesn't go in the treatment plant. Those two sources are blended. So really, we should, assuming that the treatment plant's working the way it should, this should be the last we ever see of a manganese problem
Yeah, so I just...
in the system itself.
Yeah, so I just reminded the DEP of that, is that well number 5, that sample was taken in August of 2014, and it was right around the time that the well was going offline to be, getting rid of that cross connection so that we can start, doing the tie-in to the treatment plant. So at that point, since August, well number 5 hasn't been being put into the system because it's been offline while they take care of things, and we can bring it into the treatment plant. So the DEP is okay with that. They'll be issuing me a new letter and a new sampling schedule. The reason I brought it up because it affects the budget, because it's increased an increased cost to the water department, where before we were not sampling quarterly for this, and it is expensive. Lab tests are expensive when you can. So they've agreed to that, and when I get the revised letter from the DEP, I'll make sure the board gets a copy of what it is, but just to let you know that it will be the same, but it will only include number 2 in the letter, because well number 5 will go through the treatment plant, and it won't. Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
At town meeting I had a question from a customer, resident, voter, and customer of the water system, wanting to know if there's been no formal notification that we're running our water through the treatment plant. So his question was when did we start running water through the treatment plant? In other words, is right now, as we speak, all the water that's going into the system is either going through the treatment plant or coming from well number 2. I assume that's correct, right?
Yes.
And the second issue was that and I think it might be a valuable thing, he says there was a problem with the town website. It crashed, so that he didn't know that the town meeting, he came to town meeting, but he came back from out of state and was unfamiliar with, looked on the website and there was a mistake on the website. But his other question was that he looked high and low for information about the treatment plant on the website and couldn't find anything. And seeing as the system is online, I would ask the board to check into, they could probably check with the town administrator about maybe getting someone to take some pictures, number one, of what the townspeople see what the $12 million went for, as well as maybe a statement or a comment as to when the treatment plant went online, what it's doing, what we envision it doing, and so on and so forth, just to give these people an update of what's been done, where we stand, what it looks like, because obviously it's a location up there where people aren't gonna drive by and look at it, but
No,
we
I
don't
mean,
want
maybe,
people up there, but
also
at least if
the
we give
papers.
them a picture and some information, and then on a regular basis, update them, with, as part of the regular procedure, especially now that we have a full-time superintendent on board, that is, to add more duties, but
Maybe the two papers would put something in too, then.
yeah, and something that just, because a lot of people look on the website, we're looking into it, even for the town side, to kind of make the website better, and this is one area that could well be done, and let people know exactly what's going on. And at the same time, when you put some of these new rules and regulations in for the shut-offs, that would certainly be valuable to have on the website, so that people would know exactly what's going on, publicize them at the time.
Be nice in the spring to have an open house so the residents could see the new plant.
Just so you know, the website redesign is on my to-do list.
Okay, no, I'm sure it is. It's just, I bring this up because I
Yep.
was specifically asked by a resident, and it just so happened that we had a problem with the town website that week, so that he was asking about the notification of the town meeting also, but it's just something that I said, well, I'll check with the water board and have them see if we can, not to be done tomorrow, but it's something that we need to look at.
And we will. And we'll be putting a lot of those policies on there, and any forms, online forms that people could get right on the website. So we will be doing that, and yes, Commissioner Dalzell, we will be having an open house, probably in the month of May during National Drinking Water Week. But it's gonna have to be a controlled, small groups, and we'll work on the details down the road. But yes, we will be having an open house. And also just a reminder too, is that even though we're pumping water, we're still under construction. So there's still redeveloping those wells. We're still, fine tuning things, working on the SCADA computer, the program that controls the automated portion of the plant. So we're still working on that, so that may have been, that's probably why we're not really making the announcement, because we're only halfway there as far as, we gotta get well 5 going through, which should happen any time now, but, that's.
Well, I think that's, and I'm not being critical when I say what I said, I think it might be valuable to say what you just said, to have it on the front page of the website, make it in the next few days, talk to the town administrator and say, this is where we stand, it's still under construction, we'll work, so people have some idea of what's going on. It doesn't have to be in depth or in detail, but just to give people a general idea of what's happening. Because right now, I don't think anybody, unless they happen to watch these meetings, has any idea what's going on, other than, the thing's working, I guess, what I mean? So, thank you.
What was the concentration?
Which well?
Well, 2.
I wanna say .8 something. was, well 2 in June was 0.13, and then it's a quarter, this one was on quarterly. March was 0.44. And well 5 in July was 0.82.
Okay. So it's, standard is .05, right?
Yes.
Any more discussion on? No? Jim? Next item, the cemetery had a leak a few weeks ago, and the water department shut the water off. The leak needs to be repaired. The cemetery has contacted the water department to make the repair. This is a policy decision that needs to be made by the Board of Water Commissioners by a majority vote. The cost of the repair is $135. I was thinking the cemetery buy the parts, and the water department can assist with the repairs, just like the water department bought the hot top, and the highway department assisted us with patching the water department driveway. Do we have any discussion on it?
No, that's fair.
Huh?
I'm no problem, that's just fair.
And I'd like to make a motion for in-mutual cooperation with the water department to assist in repairs, and that all materials shall be purchased by the department requesting assistance.
I have no problem with that.
So is that a second?
You made the motion, second. I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Update on the water ban and discuss flushing the system. Mary Beth will now update the board.
Excuse me, can I just add one thing to the cemetery? Yeah, these other shallow lines, have they been all blown up yet? Winter coming on, like the cemetery lines and the corner.
I don't know. Is that something the water department usually does?
Yes, with the compressor, they blow the lines up.
Okay, so what was that, the cemetery?
You have the cemetery, you have the town common. Down at Brad Street Farm, I noticed the hoses off the hydrant, there's the hose been blown up.
I think that one's all set.
Okay. And the bubbler at the town landing. Is there anything else you gentlemen can think of?
I'm sure that we have.
I will check with the primary
Okay,
operator to make sure that we don't miss any of these.
thank you.
So this is something the water department goes out and blows out the water lines
Yes.
for these places.
It's easy to do that, they fix everything in the spring.
Right.
Ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Update on the water ban, discuss the flushing.
Yes. So I have some good news. So I would, we can lift the water ban tonight if the board chooses to. Currently, the way we base our decisions on water is we go by the Parker River and the flows. The flows in the Parker River have been up over 6 cubic feet per second. Matter of fact, I think it's 18. It's in your packet. We go on that website on Water Watch, and we track the flows of the river. We have a water restriction policy in place, which basically goes by the seasonal limits on non-essential outdoor water use for based upon the Parker River from a certain time period. So we're above that flow. We've been maintaining that above flow of 6 cubic feet per second for a week, over a week now. So if the board wishes, you can vote tonight to lift the water ban. And if the board chooses to lift the water ban, I'll get the trucks washed. And also, if we can, because it hasn't been done in a long time, last year you did some token flushing down Route 1 and 133. However, I'd like to flush if possible. We've got a very limited, small window because of freezing temperatures. I included in your packet, the flushing schedule from spring. This is the spring, I would imagine it's the same, for the fall, the same, because it's the same flushing route. And it looks like, which is actually better, but it looks like that you flush during the day. There's only one area, I believe, that gets flushed, at night, 2 areas that I can see. So, it would be nice if we could do this, however, which I'll be coming to the board, it's gonna have to be something that I would have to hire an outside contractor to assist with us, because at this point, with only having the 2 operators, which they will have to be at the plant, making sure that the treatment plant is running and well number 2 is running, so that we can flush the clean water out, to clean the pipes. I'd like to try to squeeze it in, but I'm not sure because of temperatures. And I don't want to cause any extra work for the highway department going out and salting and sanding roads, because,
Like to see the second one that you have on your flushing route, done, one of the first ones. For some reason, people are saying that up past Pingree Farm Road, they are getting a lot of
yeah.
stuff in that water. You know, we could flush that where we get the treatment plant online now. It would help out the people from Pingree Farm to the Georgetown line.
Well, we have to be careful, because we can't just, going out sometimes spot flushing or jumping.
No, I just thought that should be one of the ones on the top of the list
Well,
to
it
try
would
and
be
get done.
It would be in a sequence. So when we go out and flush, we would start, you normally start at your source. So we would start at the treatment plant and then work out from there. And then, you go in order. So
Well, what
we
I'm
do-
saying is, you go up Pingree Farm Road, you're only a quarter of a mile, you're at the town line.
It is at the top of the list.
Yes, to Pingree Farm Road, Hayward Street, to Route 95.
Right.
So that would be the first
Okay.
that we would do, and then we would work from there.
Which way now?
And there's only about 43 miles of main, so we should be able to maybe do this in a week or so. We've never done the flushing in Raleigh, so that we'll see. But if the board would like to vote to raise the ban,
I'll make a motion to take the band off.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
One request I have, last year, they never took the signs down.
the water bans.
Yeah. So we make sure that the signs do come down this year.
Yes. So with that, with the flushing, with getting out public notification, of getting it on the website, getting it in the local TV, Raleigh Community Media, if we can get something on there, in the newspaper.
You might wanna do the reverse 911 too also.
Okay, well, if that's
On
available.
On days of flushing, yeah, I think it's important, because you don't want people putting white laundry in, if you're flushing during the day in particular, so it would be valuable to, I think people would be more than happy to be notified.
Well, if that's available, we'll
And
definitely.
you can do it on the morning, in other words, you're gonna flush the next day or whatever, you can give them a day's notice or do it really at 8 o'clock in the morning or something, yeah. The more notification we give people, the happier they'll be with the water board.
Yeah.
We can do the notification, by segments too, of the town, correct?
Right.
I
Yeah, you can
remember a couple
notify
of years
those.
back, we had a sign up that would be flushing that area or something.
Well, let's say you're gonna do Pingree Farm Road tomorrow morning, you can, the reverse 911 will allow you just to notify those people, not to notify anybody else, unless you think it's gonna affect everybody else's walk. In other words, I don't know how it affects one or the other, but just to give people I know my wife screams if the water comes up around and she's gonna put the laundry in, so, or you're gonna brush your teeth or something.
Well, there is a buildup,
Right.
because they
Oh,
haven't
yeah,
flushed,
absolutely.
so
No,
when we
it's-
get out there and flush it, there's gonna
Right.
be some dislodged manganese that's been building up on the pipes and iron, and it's gonna get released, and most of it will come out, but there is gonna be some,
And if we get on a regular flushing schedule every year, that would certainly help. too,
and then
to
if we
reduce
go
the
out and
amount.
flush again in the spring, just spring and fall, but based upon, what the Parker River is doing and where we're at with the process for the water bans. And if we can do this, I would like to flush, if we can get the public notification out there, in time, and the weather cooperates.
One question, did they tabulate how much water is flushed through the system that just, is basically wasted?
We will be,
You will.
because I will need that number
Right,
when I do the annual statistical report to the DEP for non-revenue.
okay, thank you.
Yep, you could pass that notification on to the Board of Selectmen, we can make an announcement
Okay?
at the end of our meeting too.
Okay, thank you. Do you have anything else, Linda?
That's it.
The next meeting's gonna be, November 18th, 6 o'clock. Make a motion to adjourn.
No second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.